Alright guys, welcome back to another video on MMAUnhinged. Today we're doing a video that I used to do back in the day. We used to do podcasts on this channel, but you know they stopped, but now they're back thanks to MMA Heads. I'm joined by Oscar. How's it going, Oscar?
It's going great. Over here in Chicago, the weather's not the best, but there's some good fights this weekend as always.
100%. I'm excited for this weekend. We've got a legend retiring. Is he retiring? Is he not retiring? There's a bit mixed feelings coming from Anderson Silva. Tell everyone who you are and what you do.
Yeah, my name's Oscar. I run the MMA Heads account on Instagram. It's almost got 1,000 followers right now. I follow MMA. I've been following it for years now. It's my biggest passion.
100%. I agree. I've been following your account for a few months now. I saw you on Instagram. I see you put some good content. The links will be in the description. Do you have a YouTube or anything like that? Do you do any interviews or?
No, just Instagram for now.
Are you gonna get into interviews maybe?
Possibly.
Yeah. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start at Ortega versus Ortega Zombie?
Oh, for sure. I love that card.
Alright, so we'll start at the bottom. We'll start where Said Nurmagomedov beat Mark Striegel by KO in the first round. How do you think he looked in that fight, bouncing back after he lost?
Said looked as good as anyone can look. To get a finish that quickly is unprecedented. I thought Mark had a chance in this fight, but apparently he did it.
Yeah, he came off a loss against Real Barrelos, who just stepped in for Jack Shaw. And yeah, he looked really good, as you said there. Yeah, he came in and it was he bounced back impressively, and that's a good sign for a fighter to bounce back. You know, he just got his first loss in the UFC debut, bounced back in good fashion, so that's a really good sign.
Yep.
Hopefully, we get to see him, pick up the momentum now, pick up a few wins in the UFC, and move up the rankings because he's a really good fighter. You know, he beat Ricardo Ramos. And Ricardo Ramos had a lot of hype around him.
Yeah, Ricardo's no joke.
Yeah, Ricardo's no joke, as you said there. Beat Justin Scoggins, beat Ricardo Ramos, lost to Uriah Barrelos. But he's got some really good names on his resume already in his short UFC career. But he just needs to pick up that momentum, pick a few wins together, and make a run up the rankings.
Yep. All right.
That was a good win for him. He moves coming off a loss, gets the win, and moves back into the win column. So moves up his momentum, and gets him back on his confidence as well. That will help his confidence getting a finish in the first round as well, as you mentioned.
Yeah, I think some people are fooled by the Nurmagomedov name. They think he's going to be the next coming up Habib, and he's had 2 losses now, but this guy is legit. He's legitimate.
Yeah, as you said there, people will be fooled by the Nurmagomedov back, his name. But the thing is, he's not a wrestler. That's what most people get mistaken. Yeah, he's primarily a striker. Yeah,
the Russian fighters, there's 2 types. There's Zabits and there's Habibs. He's more of a Zabit. He likes to keep it on the feet, and with diverse strikes, he always finds success.
I couldn't have said it better myself. That was perfect. Perfect way of putting it. 100%. He's like you have 2 different types of Russians. The way you said that was perfect. You have the Habibs and you have the Zabits. You have a diverse striker, or you have a technical wrestler in Habib. That was a perfect way of putting it. Then moving on against Maxim Grashin, he took on this is Antiglovov. I can't pronounce some of these names.
Yeah, Gadzimurad Antigulov.
Oh, that was terrific. Can I say that again?
Gadzimurad Antigulov.
Oh, that was every time I get to a difficult name, I'll hand it over to you because that was absolutely tremendous. So,
I like the challenge.
Yeah, I can see that. But he won in round 2. He knocked out the opponent. You said, yeah, he knocked out in round 2. How good did he look that night?
I expected him to do this. Gadzimurad Antigulov has a terrible gas tank. I thought he either gets it done in round 1 or not at all. So that's what happened.
That's a perfect. Yeah, that's what happened as well. Round 2, he didn't look there. He faded a bit, and Maxim Grashin took over.
Yeah. Also, I was surprised Antigulov was this conservative. He wasn't fighting like himself. Usually, he takes guys down and he goes for the submission or the TKO finish on the ground. But this time, he kept that on the feet, and he didn't present any danger to Maxim Grashin. And Grisham was able to finish him on the feet.
100%. Grisham came off a loss to Marcin Tybura, and that's there's no shame in that loss. Marcin Tybura's on the run at the moment.
let's not forget, Christian fought at heavyweight for that one. He's a natural light heavyweight.
That's perfect. The perfect way of putting it. And there's no shame in that loss. Marcin Tybura putting on a run at the moment.
If I'm not mistaken, Marshman weighs in at the 265-pound weight limit at heavyweight too.
His last fight, he weighed in at 263 pounds.
Yes.
That's it. He's a big heavyweight, and he's on a 3-fight winning streak. Beat Sergey Spivak after he lost 2 back-to-back against Shamil Abdurunakov. Oh my god! And Augusto Sakai.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, he came off 2 losses to Shamil and Augusto Sakai. Then he bounced back with a win against Sergey Spivak, and then Maxim Grashin, and then Ben Rothwell. But yeah, Maxim Grashin gets back into the winning column. Look good. And he's a really tall light heavyweight. He's really, really big. 6 foot. Yeah, he's 6'3" with a 76 reach advantage.
Yeah, he's physically impressive.
Yeah, 100%. He looked good. Got the TKO win in that fight, and he moves back into the win column, puts himself in a good position in his UFC career. We'll move on to the next fight. It was Faraz Ziam, the French, wins by unanimous decision versus Jamie Malarkey. Yeah, a bit of a I can't remember too much about this fight, but what do you remember about this fight?
I remember that it was a very competitive fight. I remember that Jamie Malarkey was the favorite coming in, and I thought he would get this done, but he didn't. I thought the judges could have given it to him, but I'm not too mad about this decision.
Yeah, the French Faraz Ziam comes off a loss against Don Madge at UFC 242 in Abu Dhabi, and then comes back to Abu Dhabi and gets a win. So he's 1-1 in Abu Dhabi now.
Yeah, I think Faraz Ziam, he's not our next world champion, but he's a middle of the road guy. I think he has potential.
Yeah, 100%. He has potential, and what also helps the UFC promotion that he's French. The French. MMA is now legal in French, so that helps him perfectly.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
So he beat Jamie Malarkey. Jamie Malarkey, I believe that snapped his win streak. I think he was on a little bit of he was on a 2-fight loss streak. Lost against Brad Riddell at UFC 243. Adesanya versus Whittaker. So yeah, that's pile on the pressure for now, Jamie Malarkey. Where's Jamie Malarkey go from here?
I thought Jamie Malarkey showed a lot of potential in that fight with Brad Riddell. It was a war. It was very competitive, so that's why I expected him to win here, because we've seen good stuff from Brad Riddell since then. I think Jamie Malarkey, what is this, lightweight? Yeah. Maybe fight with Kama Worthy at some point. I'd like to see that.
That was a good shout. Kama Worthy just coming off a loss against Otmun Azatar. He got knocked out in that fight, but Kama Worthy showed some great potential already in his UFC career, beating Luis Pena and who did he beat in his debut? Sadiq? No, was it Sadiq? Who did he beat in his debut? Knocked him out. Oh, Devontae Smith. He knocked out Devontae Smith in his UFC.
Smith, yes, yeah.
Beat Devontae Smith in his UFC debut, and he put himself straight on the map. And then he comes in against Luis Pena and submits him out of all odds. No one expected that. So yeah, that would be a good matchup. That was a good matchup from yourself. A good acquisition. So we'll move on to the next fight, and probably the most frustrating for me to see. It was John Young Park versus John Phillips.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Yep.
John Young Park he's not a wrestler, and he's dominated John Phillips. It didn't really make any sense. John Phillips, when he gets to the ground, he looks like he doesn't know what he's doing. Let's be honest. He looks absolutely clueless.
Yeah.
And John what was you gonna say? Sorry.
Yeah. John Phillips. He used to call himself the White Mike Tyson, and it showed here. He just doesn't have any ground game. You saw Hamza in the back. He was giving him punish, but there's a big gap between Jung Young Park and Phillips here on the ground.
100% on the ground, and Jun Young Park's not even a wrestler. He's more primarily a striker. That's the most confusing part, and he out-grappled John Phillips, and I understood why he out-grappled John Phillips. He's no good on the ground, and John Phillips on the feet is dangerous. He's got power. As you said there, he's the White Mike Tyson. That's a great way of putting it. He swings for the fences and just hopes he lands a shot. And yeah, so John Young Park goes back to two wins in a row now, beating Marc-Andre Barriot and now John Phillips. Before that, he got lost against Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. But yeah, he's two back-to-back now. It's a good momentum for John Young Park. And after that fight, he definitely put himself in a good position because everyone noticed him. Everyone, he kind of had better performance than Khamzat Chimaev against John Phillips. Everyone recognised that. He had like 303 strikes on the ground or something like that. Absolutely incredible. And John Phillips landed I think it was like 4 or 5 in that whole fight. So he definitely put himself on the map, and he put himself in a good position to move on in his next stage of the career.
Absolutely.
Next fight, we had Gillian Robertson against Poliana Botelho. This was the fight that went to the judges' scorecard. What do you think about this fight?
Gillian Robertson is a finisher. She ruined her 100% finish rate here in the UFC. She was very frustrated about it, and so was I. I expected her to submit Botelho with a rear naked choke, like in the second or third round. It just never happened.
Yeah, as you said there, she is a finisher. When it comes to her UFC career, she finished all her fights. This was her first ever decision in the UFC, which is absolutely incredible to think. She's finished the likes of Courtney Casey, Sarah Ferrota, Veronica Macedo, Molly McCann she's finished, Emily Whitmire, but she's lost to Macy Barber, she's lost to Mario Buello Silva. Yeah, but she's got some really good names in her UFC career already. I think she's ranked now, I believe.
Yeah, she is. She's like number 12 or something.
Yeah,
like that.
number 12 ranked in the flyweight division. What's next for not Macy Barber, what's next for Gillian Robertson? Where would you like to see her take on next?
Well, she called out Antonina Shevchenko. That's a perfect fight. Antonina Shevchenko is fighting on UFC 255 against I can't remember right now, to be honest, but if she were to win or lose, why not Gillian Robertson after that one?
I'll let you know who she's fighting now. She's fighting Ariana Lipsky.
Yes.
Ariana Lipsky.
Lipsky's dangerous on the ground. That's not an easy fight for Antonina.
And she's coming off a loss against Caitlin Chikagian, where she got outclassed, didn't really look to be in the elite level of
That's about as bad of a performance as you can have.
Yeah, she did look good.
There was 10-8 rounds in there.
I just said there, Ariana Lipsky, good on the ground. In her last fight, she got a knee bar win against Liana Carolina. She got a knee bar in the first round. You said there she's good on the ground. That's going to cause problems for Antonina Shevchenko. Some of these names are so difficult to pronounce. But yeah, she's not very good on the ground. Ariana Lipsky will look to, overcome that and go take her to the ground 100%.
All right, moving on.
Yeah, 100%. These names are going to get hard. Guram Kutaladze, yeah, versus Gamrot. We're going to call him Gamrot. This fight was absolutely incredible. Which way was you choosing it? Everyone was choosing it one way or another way. Some people thought it was controversial. What was your thoughts on this fight?
Gamrot should still be undefeated. He came in 17-0. I thought the judges gave it to the wrong guy.
What word am I looking at? He toughed out until the later rounds, used his wrestling, used his pressure, and we saw him, kind of take the win that night, but he didn't take the win. Should be undefeated, but he's not undefeated. The judges' scorecard said no. They weren't having it, and Guram took the win that night. What an absolute war. I remember that fight. That was one of the fight night contenders. If not, it probably was the fight of the night, if I believe.
It got some bonus. They got the fight of the night bonus.
They got a bonus. That makes me happy. They both men got 50,000. That's brilliant.
They deserve it.
100%. It was an absolute firefight. The Muay Thai from Guram, we expected it coming into the fight. He's a Muay Thai practitioner, and he looked really good that fight. But so did Guram. Gamrot, not Guram. Guram's the other guy. Gamrot looked good. And but didn't walk away with a win that night. But moving on to the first fight on the main card, Jonathan Martinez defeated Thomas Almeida. Thomas Almeida didn't look good that night. 30-27 on all the scorecards. Jonathan Martinez walks away with a win. 30-27, 30-27, 30-27. What are your thoughts on Almeida's performance and Jonathan Martinez?
Almeida has had a long layoff, and he might have had a case of old ring rust. He wasn't looking good at all. He couldn't find his groove. Jonathan Martinez almost finished him on multiple occasions. Martinez, he might be a contender. He might get a ranked guy next. Who knows? Let's see.
This fight was at 145 pounds, where Thomas Almeida was, at 135 pounds. He stepped up and weight. That was the reason for this fight. I think, if I'm right, Jonathan Martinez missed weight in his last fight. Yeah, he came in at 140.5. Yeah. 140.5 for his last fight against Frankie Saenz, but he still won that fight by flying knee, then ground and pound. But that was at the Apex. This fight was at the Island, and he beat Thomas Almeida. It's a good name to get under his resume. Thomas Almeida. He's a huge name in the UFC, and he's got that he's got that name under his belt now. And move on to, as you said there, a ranked opponent.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, we saw James Krause in the next fight defeat Claudio Silva 30-27 on the all judges scorecard, and in this fight it was so frustrating to me to see Claudio Silva's striking. It just didn't look there. He just didn't look like he didn't have the fundamentals. He looked his game is BJJ, and that's where he needed it to go. James Krause is a veteran. He didn't let him have that. Stuck to his jab, stuck to his basics, and went out to decision the fight. What are your thoughts on James Krause's performance that night?
James Krause has a win over Jorge Masvidal. He's not going to get outstruck by this BJJ guy. It's not happening. Claudio Silva, he has a win over Leon Edwards. We're not talking about the Leon Edwards of today. We're talking Leon Edwards in 2014 who had no wrestling in his game at all. So when it came to the striking, I knew it wasn't going to be competitive. Even though James Krause had an injury to his leg in the first round, he was able to hustle through and get this win by unanimous decision.
That's a perfect way of putting it. Claudio Silva was undefeated since losing his debut against Matt Thorpe. He went on a 14-fight win streak and then lost to James Krause at UFC Fight Night, Ortega versus Korean Zombie. But I wasn't too impressed with him. His BJJ is absolutely phenomenal, but once he gets on the feet, every fight starts on the feet. And James Krause showed if you keep him on the feet, you're going to win. There's a good blueprint for the fighters he fights next to. On the feet, he doesn't really look fundamentally there.
Yeah, it's a shame James Krause has to coach all these fighters, because you can see that the guy is very skilled, which is why, of course, he's coaching these fighters. But I think we're talking about possibly a fight with Joaquin Buckley next. They've been having a lot of back and forth. He's saying that he spars recklessly and that he hurts guys, and he didn't want that in his gym, so he turned down his request to spar at his gym. So they got beef. Why not do that fight? He fought at middleweight before. Let's see it.
Yeah, that was a good way of putting that. Joaquin Buckley and James Krause got a little bit of beef at the moment, as you said there. Sparred at his gym, requested it because he spars too hard. So we'll move on to probably the most impressive performance of the night. Actually, no, we got Brian Ortega to come up. We got Jimmy Crute defeats Modestas. What an absolute performance from Jimmy Crute. He showed that unfortunately there is levels to this game. Modestas fighting out of Northampton, England. A guy that was really highly looked up to. He was highly touted. On his UFC debut, came in. A lot of people were looking at him. There's a guy who's a future contender in the light heavyweight division. Jimmy Crute went in there, put his lights out in round one. What an absolute performance, Jimmy Crute, right?
Absolutely. Jimmy Crute looked like a star. He's ranked now. I expected him to get a submission here, like he did in his last fight, by Kimura or by armbar or something like that, but it did not happen. What we saw here was Jimmy Crute showing that he's above these unranked fighters. He's here for the belt. He is 12-1. I think looking at a future champion here. He has all the skills to do it.
That's a great way of putting it. Looking at a future champion for sure. Coming off a loss, back to back wins. I mean, actually beat Michelle Oh, no, I'm not going to try and pronounce that one. But yeah, he's got 2 finishes in his last 2 fights. Came off a loss against Amisha Serkinov, but he lost by Pavunian necktie. But yeah, he looks impressive after that loss. He came back in impressive in fashion, finished both his next 2 opponents, and it was a great win against Modestas because he was very highly touted. Everyone looked up to him to be a future contender. Put him away, put his lights out, impressive in fashion, knocked him out cold in round 1. Moving on to the co-main event of the evening, Jessica Andrade defeats Caitlin Chikagian by TKO in round 1 with 5 seconds to go. What do you reckon is next for Jessica Andrade, and how good did she look?
Jessica Andrade may as well look at the title shot. She finished the #1 contender in the first round. There's no argument here. She was a champion at 115 pounds. She moved up to 125, and she looks this great. She's cutting less weight. She has more power, even though she was 8 inches shorter than Caitlin Chikagian. She finished her. Some people were thinking that the size difference was going to be the determining factor in the victory or the loss for Caitlin Chikagian, which it didn't work out. She got hit in the body, and it was over.
Yeah, 100%. That 8 reach advantage he said there. Jessica Andrade came in there, she went to the body. A perfect way of neutralizing the reach advantage. Getting close. When she fights Jessica Andrade, she looks like a Mike Tyson-esque. But, a younger one, she comes in with her head bobbing, weaving. And then she hit with a sweet body shot to Caitlin Chikagian. Dropped her, and then she finished the fight. And I think when she got hit by the body shot, we heard the screams out of the audio. You heard a scream when she got hit by that body shot. That was quite gruesome. But moving on to the main event. Yeah, it was an absolutely brilliant finish with Jessica Andrade. She put herself in a great position. She beat the #1 ranked woman in the division. So that kind of warrants a title shot, if I'm correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so moving on to the main event of the evening. Probably the most impressive performance of the night. Brian Ortega defeats Chan Sung Jung with an absolute striking clinic. How no one expected it to go. No one expected Brian Ortega to stand with Chan Sung Jung and look like a prime Anderson Silva without the leg kicks or the Muay Thai clinch. Looked so good.
Brian Ortega looked like your next world champion tonight. 2 weeks ago. He was able to outclass Korean Zombie. Korean Zombie says he doesn't remember the last 3 rounds because he got hit with that brutal spinning elbow that knocked him down and could have finished the fight if another ref was reffing that night. But Brian Ortega, he was all about the jiu-jitsu back then, getting a lucky submission. He would take a beating, then he would come back. The damage. Korean Zombie was not himself that night. Have you ever seen Korean Zombie be so conservative in a fight?
I've never seen Chan Sung Jung beat so decisively that night. He was outclassed. So even in the Uriah Rodriguez fight, he was winning that fight when he got knocked out. He got knocked out, unfortunately. I think it was like 1 second to go in the 5th round. He got knocked out, but he was about to win that fight. But yeah, I've never seen Chan Sung Jung lose so decisively.
Yeah, that unanimous decision. Of course, the obvious.
Yeah, 50-45 in all judges' scorecards.
Yep. And where does Brian Ortega go from here?
I think it's a title shot. As Dana White said before the fight, whoever wins this fight gets a title shot against Alexandra Volkov. I think that's only right. He looked so impressive. The way he won this fight was, a title shot worthy. He came in there, looked like a rejuvenated Ortega, looked so phenomenal. And we saw an absolute masterclass from Ortega. We saw he worked away. He went away for 2 years. He went away for 2 years and worked on his boxing. Max Holloway, and kind of that fight against Max Holloway was the best thing to happen to Ortega because look how good he looks now.
Yeah, Alexander Volkanovski says he's ready in February. I wouldn't mind seeing that. Maybe even in Australia, New Zealand. I'm hearing they can have fans over there. Who knows? Something might work out there.
That's a good point. Yeah, New Zealand, they're kind of exempt from all the COVID stuff that's happening right now in the world.
Yeah, they did a good job dealing with the whole pandemic. Yeah.
as our countries, America and England, they have not.
No.
So, do you want to go on to UFC 254, or do you want to go to Uriah Hall versus Silva? Our predictions.
I want to talk about Habib.
You want to talk about Habib? So we'll start at the first fight of the evening, where we saw Joel Alvarez beating Alexandra Yukolev by armbar. Yeah, in round one with 3 minutes on the clock. How did Joel Alvarez look in there in that evening?
This is what we've seen from Joel Alvarez. He gets a quick submission. That's what he did here. That's what he did last weekend, and I expect to see this from Joel Alvarez. He's great at submissions, and Alexander Yakolev, he gets submitted by Zach Cummings. Like, come on, he's not elite. This guy might be getting released after this.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. You know, he got submitted by Zach Cummins, and you know, we know how good Joe Alvarez is on the ground, submitting Joe Duffy, submitting Alexandra, submitting obviously ground and pound versus Danilo. But you know, he has these losses against Dasmir Umagolov. Some of these names are so difficult to pronounce, I swear. And I feel like they're all Russian as well. They're all just they have some really crazy names. They're really hard. But yeah, in his UFC career, he started off well. In his UFC debut, lost against his debut versus Damir, went on a 3-fight winning streak, and he's finished all 3 of them fights. Looks really impressive. Where would you maybe like to see Joe Alvarez take on next?
Well, this is at lightweight. I think Joel Alvarez is ready for someone like, say, a Luis Pena.
That's a good fight. Luis Pena, you know, really long and lengthy, moved up from 145 all the way up to 155. You know, he's a big guy in the 155-pound division, or as well as 145. He depleted himself. You know, that weight cut was too much for him.
Yeah, absolutely. He's taller than DC.
Yep, he is. Second fight of the evening, we saw Miranda Maverick take on Luana Jujo. Oh, I hope I got that one. But yeah, but that fight stopped. You know, we got a TKO in that fight, but was it really a TKO? We saw Miranda Maverick land a big lead elbow straight down the middle, cut Luana up, and the referee stopped the fight because the cut on the nose, I think it was too bad.
Yeah, this was an early stoppage in my opinion. You could have let it go a little longer. But then again, it wouldn't have changed the result. Miranda Maverick was having her way with her. She was going to win the next 2 rounds.
Yeah, we saw
the striking. The only chance Liana had here was like an armbar. But it appears Maverick's just too good for that.
Yeah, Miranda Maverick did come in really well for this fight. You saw the power in her hands for a woman. She looked really, really heavy, and that lead elbow was the finishing factor. Stopped the fight. Referee, the doctor said that's enough. The cut is too much. You know, this fight is ending right now. So that's what happened. The fight ended. Next.
Moving on.
Yeah, moving on to Dan Unjong versus Sam Alvey. Ends in a split draw. How did you see this?
This fight was like a ballroom brawl. It was very sloppy. Down Jung, I thought he was better than this. I thought he would knock out Sam Alvey decisively, like in the first round, because that's what he did in Mike Rodriguez, and he wasn't able to do it. Sam Alvey, is he on a 4-fight losing streak before this?
He was on a 4-fight losing streak.
Yes. I thought he was going to get released after this. But it appears he's going to stick around to continue being mediocre, in my opinion. Yep. I think Dao Jung, we learned a lot about him. I don't think he's a future world champion, judging from this performance. The scoring was correct here. It was a draw, that 10-8 round for was it Jung Daun in the 3rd round was enough to avoid getting a loss, but it's not great performance from either guy.
Yeah, 100%. That's a great way of putting it. You know, Sam Alvey on a 4-fight losing streak. Before this draw, he lost to Ryan Spann, Kalidas Abreu, Jimmy Crute, and Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira. You know, and he's got finished in 2 of them fights against Jimmy Crute and Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira. But yeah, he hasn't been looking good as late. You know, on a 4-fight losing streak just after this draw. Now he's on a draw. Can you really class that as a win? So kind of maybe to him it will feel like a 5-fight losing streak he's on now.
Yeah, Sam Alvey, he was fighting for his job. This is a win. He didn't lose, so he can't get cut now.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. You know, he got a draw. That kind of saved it.
Yeah, that saved his job.
100%. Moving on to Shavkat. You know, this one ended pretty early against Cowboy. What did you think of Shavkat that night?
Shavkat is undefeated. He came into the UFC with a 12-0 record. He's a great wrestler from Kazakhstan, and he got that first-round guillotine, which, you know me, I love a first-round guillotine. It's nice and quick. You learn that the guy can, because when they're dry, it's easier to get a submission like this. Because when they train the gi, they can pull off those submissions way easier. There's no blood, there's no sweat, and Alex Oliveira, he's up and down. He can't really get on a streak. He loses one, he wins one, and that's what I expected. I thought this fight was a very close fight on paper, but we learned just how good Shavkat Rakhmonov is.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Shavkat Rakhmonov, you know, 13-0 now in his pro MMA career, and 13 finishes.
Oh yeah, he's a finisher. He'll knock you out. He'll submit you. I think someone like Tim Means might be next for Shavkat.
That was a brilliant matchup. I like your matchup. You know, they're all sensible, but they're not too, you know, over pushing the fighter. I like that. But he looked really impressive against Cowboy. But that Cowboy was on a 2-fight winning streak. Beat Max Griffin, beat Peter Sabota. But you know, there were names that you know he probably should be beaten. And against Shavkat, you know, Shavkat showed how classy he is. Went in there, finished the choke in round 1, and looked really good. Put himself on the map straight away against Cowboy. You know, Cowboy's a good opponent to get on his UFC debut, mind you. This is Alex Oliveira, Cowboy. You know, he's been in the 170-pound division. Fought the who's who, you know, fought Gunnar Nelson, Mike Perry, Nicholas Dalby. He's fought so many people. Donald Cerrone, Gilbert Burns. He's fought so many people in the 170-pound division. And Shavkat come in his UFC debut and get a win against our Cowboy is a great win to get in his UFC debut.
Yeah, Shavkat Rakhmonov, I think he's going to get ranked. He called out Donald Cerrone after the fight. He said, I just beat Cowboy Oliveira. Now let me beat Cowboy Cerrone. I think he could do that as well.
Yeah, I was a bit confused about the call out, to be fair. You know, Donald Cerrone not on the best stage of his career at the moment. I think he was on a 4 or 5 fight loss streak at the moment. I think it might be 5.
Well, he went to a draw in his last one, but it would have been a loss if it were not for that eye poke in the first round.
Yeah, that's correct. He was on a 4-fight losing streak, but yeah, that draw in his last fight, kinda. As you said there with Sam Alvey, probably saved his job as well.
I think Donald Cerrone, he could be the next Diego Sanchez if he keeps on fighting.
Yeah, he needs to retire. He's getting too late.
Or BJ Penn.
A BJ Penn, perfect way of putting it. So after that fight, we saw Casey Kenny wrestle Nathaniel Wood. This is an absolute brawl. I believe this was fight night as well.
It was. It was.
An absolute war between these two men. Set the pace early for the evening, and these guys, whoever was fighting after them, you know, you were ruined because they put on such a good performance between both of the men. You know, but the only problem I had with this was the scorecard. 30-27 to Casey. I did not agree with.
That's ridiculous. Nathaniel Wood was landing a lot of leg kicks. He actually outstruck him for 1 or 2 rounds, but I think Casey Kenny did more damage, which is what split the judges.
Yeah, 100%. A good way of putting it. You know, he outstruck against Casey Kenny, and coming into this fight, we saw how good Casey Kenny was with his leg kicks. And, you know, Nathaniel Wood neutralised that and used his strength against himself, and, you know, he landed his leg kicks. He turned it into a Muay Thai fight, a kickboxing fight, and he looked impressive.
Yeah, he did. I think Casey Kenny might get a ranked opponent next. He's been looking great. He was willing to fight on a week's notice. Remember in his last fight when he fought Atlatang Haley, he went out and he screamed at Dana, I want to fight next weekend. And well, he got one 3 weeks later, and he looked mighty impressive.
Yeah, 100%. He looked good against the Alatang, and then comes in against Nathaniel Wood. Both men valued. They're both men's stock. Both go up because it was a great, incredible performance for both men. Just unfortunately, one of them had to lose.
Yeah. I thought it could have went either way. To be honest, I didn't really know how the decision was going to go, but I was rooting for Casey Kenny, and he got it done.
Yeah. So moving on to the next fight, Taito Ivasa versus 7-foot Struve. And Taito Ivasa knocks him out in the first round to go to 10-3 after dropping 3 fights on a 3-fight losing streak against JDS, Ivanov, and Spivak. How good did Taito Ivasa look in there that night?
Tuivasa looked excellent. Struve should have stayed retired. Let's look at what Struve came out of retirement for. All right, Struve came out of retirement to fight Big Ben Rothwell back December 7th, I believe it was, in Washington, D.C. He got kicked in the nuts like 3 times, and then the ref convinced him to stay in the fight, and he got knocked out. He came back out of retirement for that. He was like, all right, pandemic, let me take a break. All right, I'll come back. I'll fight another fighter that's way shorter than me, a fighter that's on a losing streak. I should get it done, right? Right? Nope. I don't know how to use my reach, and I got knocked out again. Not once, but twice. Let's not forget when he went up to the cage to celebrate, he kicked him in the head again.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
And then he fell over. That was hilarious.
Yeah, that was quite funny. After Taito Ivasa knocked him out, he got on the cage to celebrate, then kicked Struve back in the head, and Struve kind of, fell to the floor in dramatic fashion. I would say dramatic fashion. He just got knocked out, so he probably didn't know what was happening.
Yeah, Taito Ivasa, he went to the American Kickboxing Academy due to DC wanting to help him, and it looks like that the clinch work was very effective from him. He would have won. He would have won the round if he never got aggressive. He definitely would have won the decision because Struve has been looking very beatable right now.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you put it perfectly. Taito Ivasa looked great. Come in better condition as well. He looked like he was a bit, worked on his conditioning a bit more, and he kind of showed in that fight. He looked ready to go for 3 rounds.
Yeah, and Taito Ivasa, unfortunately, he wasn't able to do that shoey with the Nelk boys. But I saw they did backstage. I'll never do that shoey. I'll never do it.
You would never do a shoey? What would it take for you to do a
No,
shoey?
That's disgusting. Like I don't know. I would have to be drunk before I did the shoey.
Well, enough of shoeys. You're gonna make me feel sick. We'll move on to the first fight of the main card, and probably the most anticipated fight of the card. If and arguably, this is a rivalry that they've they've built up themselves. They had the first fight, ended in controversial fashion. Was it a early stoppage? Was it an early stoppage? Was he actually hurt? But Magomed Ankalaev came in there and shut the doubters up, and he ended it in quite spectacular fashion and decisive fashion. He put his stamp on this fight and said, "No, I am the better man." Knocked out Iron Kutalaba. What are your thoughts on this fight?
Well, this surprised me because the pace they were fighting at the last time, there was no way that was going to the judges. So that's why I expected Magomed Ankalaev to get it done a little late. I thought he would be a little smarter in his approach because if you watch the last fight, it was head kick, head kick, head kick. He missed all of them. Iwan Kutalaba was just playing that rope-a-dope. He was pretending to be rocked. He wasn't. And Iwan Kutalaba, man, he kind of paid for protesting that stoppage because if you look at the fight when he got hit, he went down. You could have stopped the fight right then and there, but that ref was very conscious of what happened last time around, and he let Magomed Ankalaev go to town with that ground and pound. That ground and pound put him to sleep. He wouldn't have gone to sleep if it wasn't for the ground and pound, but the ref knew about that last fight, so he let it go.
Yeah, the ref wanted to let the fight actually end. In a way that we can't argue. And we definitely can't argue after this fight. Magomed Ankalaev put his stamp on this fight, ended it in decisive fashion. Now we know who the better man is.
Yeah, Magomed Ankalaev only has that lost to Paul Craig, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
I
last
think,
minute submission.
yeah, I think he might be a world champion. I would like to see him. Him and Jimmy Crute is a title fight in the future. I could see that.
Yeah,
Magomed Ankalaev has got excellent wrestling, excellent striking. This guy's a complete fighter. He's gonna he's gonna be in the title picture in a year or two.
100%. That's a good way of putting it. He's a title contender, and I like the way you said Jimmy Crute versus Magomed Ankalaev possibly in the future. But straight after this, Walker said he wanted the winner of this fight.
What? Who did?
Johnny Walker.
Johnny Walker. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
he said he would like the winner of this fight.
That's a bad matchup for Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker has garbage cardio. Magomed Ankalaev would take him down over and over. He would punish him. That'd be a terrible matchup for Johnny Walker.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Magomed Ankalaev, his striking is improving every fight. We've seen it, and his obviously we know about his wrestling. He's going to take him down at will, and Johnny Walker's cardio is not going to hold up. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And moving on to the women's fight, Lauren Murphy beat Lilia Shakarova, and she submitted her in round 2 with 3 minutes and 31 seconds to go. How good did Lauren Murphy look in that fight?
Lauren Murphy looked like your next title challenger. Sure, Valentina Shevchenko is better than everyone else, but she has 4 wins over ranked opponents. That's something Kaylin Shukagian cannot say. That's something Jessica Andrade, Cynthia Calvillo. Nobody else can say they're on a 4-fight winning streak over ranked opponents. And she was able to get that rear naked choke, her first submission victory. And Lilia Shakarova was coming in her debut. Frankly, she had no business fighting the number 4 contender. This is her debut. She had no business fighting her.
Yeah, 100%. That was a good way of putting. She didn't really look in there as too much, but she did. She was kind of competitive, but as soon as it got to the ground, we saw a different level to this, and Lauren Murphy kind of took over. But it was her first submission win. It was a good way to put a statement on her career. This is her first submission win. It shows that she's a complete fighter, and it puts her a good position in the rankings. But unfortunately, Jessica Andrade did fight the week before, and she beat the number 1 contender, and she's probably going to be next in title for Valentina Shevchenko.
Yeah, I think Lauren Murphy should just fight Cynthia Calvillo. Calvillo got COVID. She should be healed up in a couple weeks. We'll see that in Vegas very soon.
That's a good way of putting it. That could probably be the number 1 contender fight. Who's next in for Shevchenko after Andrade? Shevchenko maybe.
Yeah. I think Shevchenko is gonna piece up Jennifer Maia. And if you don't know, Shevchenko has something in a contract that says she can defend her belt on fight nights, not just pay-per-views, because she wants to be active. So we can see that Andrade fight happen on a fight night, and that would open up the schedule for that fight with the winner of Murphy and Calvillo.
That was interesting. That's a good fact that you said that her contract has fight night and pay-per-view, so she wants to stay active.
Yeah.
Also, she fights at UFC 255, a flyweight showdown, a flyweight night. It seems like you got Brandon Royval versus Brendan Moreno. We got Davison Figueiredo versus Alex Perez, and then we got Valentina Shevchenko versus Jennifer Maia. The 125-pound showdown will be happening that night.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun pay-per-view. We really see a lot of speed in those fights.
I'm happy that the little guys and the little women, they're getting a showcase as of such. They're getting to headline a pay-per-view.
Let's be honest. If it was just Figueiredo and Perez being the only title fight, that would be a tough sell for most people. But with 2 title fights, I think it looks much better.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. 2 fights, two champions. It's a good way to market it.
It's such a shame Robbie Lawler pulled out of that Mike Perry fight. That was going to be a big selling point of that pay-per-view. Now it appears Mike Perry's going to have to settle with someone else. But Robbie Lawler is number 15. He would have gotten that ranking, but it appears he's going to have to settle with someone unranked. But Neil Magny did raise his hand once again. Neil Magny deserves the credit. He He said, "I'll fight Hamzat," and people were saying nobody wants to fight Hamzat. Well, he wants to fight Mike Perry right now. Why not do that? He's number 10, I believe. That'd be a great fight.
Yeah, that's a good way. Magny doesn't like wants to fight everyone. Khamzat Chimaev. No one wanted to fight him. As you said there, Magny came forward, said, "I would fight him happily."
Yep. He's willing to fight anyone, and I heard an interview with him. He said, "I'll be more vocal now because I almost have the most wins in the welterweight division, and I still don't get the respect I deserve. So I'll be more vocal," and he was with that call of Mike Perry.
Yeah, Mike Perry's been called out quite a lot by the guys in 185 pounds, but also at 170. Kevin Holland, he likes to go back and forth. He will be fighting this weekend, but yeah, he said he would like to step in after he fights this weekend if he gets the win.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense too. Kevin Holland, he's very active. He'll fight anybody, just like Hamza, which is why I wanted to see that fight before Hamza proved that he's the next world champion.
Yeah. Kevin Holland, as you said there, likes to fight regularly, actively. In 2020, I think he's fought 4 times or 3 times already, I believe.
Yeah, he's been one of the best fighters in this pandemic era of the UFC.
Yeah, a guy that stayed active in 2020. I think he's won 2, maybe beat Jordan Buckley. I can't remember who else he beat, but yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember, but he got a first-round finish.
I'll tell you now. He beat Jordan Buckley. He beat Anthony Hernandez. That was it.
Yeah, impressive.
And then he beat Jordan Buckley, and we saw how impressive that win is now.
Yeah, Joaquin Buckley, he's fighting on that 255 card too against Jordan Wright.
Yep, that's correct. And then came after that fight. He beat Darren Stewart. That was a bit controversial, and people thought it went the other way. Even Kevin Holland himself, he said he didn't win that fight.
Oh, he said it was a draw, but I thought he won that. Don't forget, he had an injury coming into that too.
Yeah. So we'll move on to the UFC 254 card where we was originally. After Laura Murphy, it was Phil Hawes taking on Jacob Malkoun. Only took 18 seconds to get him out of there.
Yeah, this reminds me of that Nagano and Rosenstrike knockout back at UFC 249. It was a blitz, and it was over. There's not much to say about this fight. Phil Hawes is coming off that winner on the Contender Series. This shouldn't have been on the main card. I don't know why it was on the main card. There was way better fights on the prelims. But, hey, I'm not complaining. 18 seconds, that's very impressive. That's one of the fastest knockouts I can recall.
Yeah, for a long time. After then, we got Masvidal and Askren. That was quite quick.
Yeah, that's still the greatest knockout in my mind.
Yeah, as you said there, ended quite quick. There's not too much to talk about this, other than Phil Hawes showed his tremendous punch power. But yeah, Jacob Malkoun was a guy who was training with Robert Whittaker before this fight. He's a training partner with Robert Whittaker. That's what probably helped him to get on that main card, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And we also see Dana White. Dana White likes to push these Contender Series people. Puts them on the main card. Gives them a good showcase. But I didn't really agree with this one being on the main card. I think there was much better options. We could have had Shavkat up there. We could have had Taito Avasa up there. We had so many different options on the prelims that shouldn't have been there. Well, we had three big fights this night. We had and we started off with Alexandra Volkov versus Walt Harris. Number 7 versus number 11. Number 7 prevails, comes out, knocks him out in round 2. We saw Harris now on a 2-fight losing streak. Lost against Overeem, now lost against Alexandra Volkov. Got finished in both fights. What is next for these both men?
Volkov, he called out Overeem and Junior Dos Santos. The Overeem fight is very intriguing to me because these are two guys that have always been at the upper tier of the heavyweight division, and they've never crossed paths, and they should. Overeem, he wants Derek Lewis, but Derek Lewis is fighting November 28th, and that after he recovers from that, it's going to be a long layup for Overeem, and we've seen Overeem be more active, so give a Volkov. That'd be competitive, especially in a 5-round fight. Why not?
Yeah, as you said there, Derek Lewis fighting on November 28th, if I'm correct, against Curtis Blades. Yep. Curtis Blades. That's a good fight. Probably a number one after Ngannou Miocic. the man whoever wins that is probably next in line.
Oh, let's face it, John Jones is jumping the line.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. John Jones is gonna come to jump the line.
Yep, absolutely. Dana said that too because some people weren't even sure Nagano was getting the title shot because how big of the magnitude of Jones's name in the MMA community.
That's a brilliant way of putting it. You know, a guy with John Jones's stature, his name is huge in the MMA world. You know, if you're fighting John Jones, you're fighting for a title because his name, you know, he's always been up there.
Yeah, possibly the GOAT. We'll talk about that later.
We won't get into that. We'll be here for all day. So we'll move on. Yeah, Alexandra Volkov looked good in that fight. Went in there, put on a good performance, and he won that fight. Knocked out Walt Harris. Walt Harris, since losing his daughter, unfortunately, you know, he's gone 0-2 and been knocked out twice.
Yeah. The first time around, his mind just wasn't in it. This time around, he's just not as skilled as these guys at the top of the heavyweight division. Give him someone that's not ranked. Next, give him someone like a Chris Daukaus.
That's a really good fight. Your matchups are really good. I like that. Chris Daukaus coming off for 2 impressive wins in the UFC and looking good as of late. Well, moving on to the co-main event of the evening. Robert Whittaker versus Jared Cannonier. Jared Cannonier, a lot of people thought, you know, he might prevail in this fight. Jared Cannonier might go in this fight and win. We thought, everyone thought, you know, Robert Whittaker might stumble across Cannonier, and Cannonier might go next in line for Adesanya. What do you reckon about this fight, and how impressive was Robert Whittaker?
Robert Whittaker was about as impressive as you can get. I expected Cannonier to actually catch Robert Whittaker, but that just wasn't the case. Cannonier broke his arm in the first round, blocking a kick. And it was all downhill from there. He got hit with that big head kick in the third round. I thought it was over. Cannonier's a very durable fighter.
Yeah, 100%, good way of putting it. Since losing the belt to Adesanya at UFC 243, Whittaker's come back in good fashion, a way that he, you know, a good making a statement, come against Darren Till. Darren Till is a surgeon, 185-pounder, came up against Kelvin Gastelum, won in his UFC middleweight debut, and then took on Robert Whittaker. Didn't get the win that night. You know, it was a unanimous decision for Robert Whittaker. Looked good. The striking looked there, and then Jared Cannonier, we saw the striking yet again. How phenomenal it is. But just will it be on the level of Adesanya? There's levels to striking, and Adesanya's striking is probably not on any level to anyone in the UFC. You know, his striking is absolutely phenomenal. He's probably the best of the best as you can get at striking.
Yeah, his striking is the best we've ever seen. Anderson Silva was trying to be what Adesanya is. Adesanya is the elite of the elite, and Whittaker, he's saying he's not really excited about this rematch, and deep down inside, I think I know why. He knows he's not going to win. Deep down inside, he knows he's not going to win because the last time he fought in his hometown with all the pressure on his shoulders, and he couldn't get it done. I just don't see a path to victory for Robert Whittaker against Adesanya. I don't.
That's good. That's a good point. In the first fight, Whittaker came out too aggressive. You know, got caught with them counters. And if you're coming in too aggressive against Adesanya, he's going to slip, he's going to rip you, and he's going to do it straight down the pipe, and he's going to finish you. We saw that. You know, if you're coming in there aggressive against Adesanya, he's going to finish you.
Yeah, even if he fought technical, he would have gotten finished, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's. I think Adesanya's level, compared to anyone in the middleweight division, he's beyond anybody's reach. You know, this guy is phenomenal. One of the greatest athletes we've seen in the UFC cage.
Yeah, Robert Whittaker, he has a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu. He tried to be on the Australian Olympic team for wrestling. Maybe use that, but otherwise than that, I just don't see a path to victory for Robert Whittaker.
That's an interesting fact you said there. Tried to get on the Australian national team, took a different path, went to MMA, and we've seen him have great success in MMA. You know, he got a former champion at middleweight, defended his belt a few times against Yoel Romero, but you know, now he's at a different level of his career, lost the belt, coming back, trying to get that shot again, but he doesn't feel motivated for that fight against Izzy Adesanya, as you mentioned there, because might not feel mentally there, might not feel like he can win the fight. Adesanya's level to the middleweight division is absolutely phenomenal. There's no one on his level.
Yeah, I agree.
The most important fight of the evening: Habib Nurmagomedov defeats Justin Gaichi by submission triangle choke in round 2, 1 minute 34 seconds. How good did Habib Nurmagomedov look in this fight?
Habib looked better than anyone has ever looked in UFC history. This guy went against a D1 wrestler and had his way with him. Justin Gaichi, you could tell his whole game plan was centered around the style of Habib, but he didn't fight like himself. He fought like someone who was scared of Habib. He was going with those leg kicks early on. He almost outstruck Habib, but Habib took him down in that first round and got that arm bar. But the round ended. But Habib went on and he did what Habib does. He got that submission in the second round and looked phenomenal. I don't think I can emphasize enough how great Habib is, and the fact that he's retiring is kind of frustrating to me because we'll never see this guy get beat because would he even have gotten beat? Would he even have gotten beat? I don't know. There's a lot of questions left to be answered. Will he return? I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, as you said there, will he return? I have no. That's a good segue. Habib after this fight retired. Was it a good choice for him? Was it a bad choice for him? He said that he made a promise to his mother that he said he would never fight without his dad, and this is his first fight without his dad. Unfortunately, passed away early on this year. He passed away early this year. So unfortunately, unfortunately after this fight, Habib announced his retirement from MMA, professional MMA, and we would never see Habib again, as it stands.
Oh. Yeah, that Tony Ferguson fight never happened. It never did.
The fight that got away
so many times. Yeah, but he did call out Habib for a grappling match on Chael Sonnen Submission Underground. I would love to see that. At least let's see them grapple. We'll never get them seeing strike, but let's see them grapple.
Yeah, that's interesting you said that. Tony Ferguson called out Habib for a Submission Underground fight. And what was interesting as well, it got released earlier on this week that Tony Ferguson was actually scheduled to grapple Georges St. Pierre at Submission Underground, but that fight, that grapple didn't come around because Georges St. Pierre couldn't leave Canada to come to America for the Submission Underground fight. So that fight, the grappling match, that couldn't come around because he couldn't leave Canada. That would have been interesting to see Tony Ferguson and Georges St. Pierre roll in Submission Underground.
Yeah, that would have been so much fun, but no, not happening. All right, let's talk about these GOAT rankings.
All right, do your top 5 list.
All right, I have a top 5 list. All right, because these, it's such a heavily debated topic. Mm-hmm. I did all the research. I was like, who's really the GOATs? Who are the GOATs? And I went in so heavy on this. I have a top 60 right now, but
top 60.
That's another conversation for another time. Let me do the top 5. All right, so at number 1, I have John Jones. How could you not? Mm-hmm. Sure, this is a PED list, by the way. PED's okay with me, all right? The PED's okay with me. PEDs don't give you skills. Yeah. So this is a PED inclusion list. John Jones at number 1. Number 2, Georges St. Pierre. Why not? He has so many title defenses. He ruled over an elite welterweight division. Number 3, Anderson Silva. We'll get to him later. One of the greatest. Most finishes in UFC history, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that might be Donald Cowboy Cerrone.
Oh, yes. Yeah. But Anderson Silva, I put up a poll on my story. Is he the greatest finisher in UFC history? And 96% of people voted yes. So
He probably is. Yeah.
yeah,
When Anderson Silva gets someone hurt, yeah, it's a bad night.
yeah. And number 4, the guy who just retired, Habib Nurmagomedov. If anyone says he's number 1, I won't even get mad at him. He had the most tenured rounds of any combat athlete ever. He never lost. He never made mistakes. This is about as good as you can get. But the only problem here is he didn't stay around to defend the title like the guys above him did. We never got to see him in danger. He was never in danger. Sure, he got rocked about once or twice, but that's all we can say about him. Never got cut. Never even fouled anybody. This guy's elite. And number 5, Demetrius Johnson, the most title defenses in UFC history. Let's face it, he didn't rule over the greatest division of all time, but when you got 12 title defenses, you got my respect, and you get into the top 5.
100%. I can't really argue with your GOAT list. I think it's pretty much spot on. That's how I would go about it. I would say John Jones is probably the greatest in mixed martial arts we've ever had. You know, the guy's absolutely ruled light heavyweight, and it's kind of weird seeing Jan Blachowicz as a champion at light heavyweight. You know,
Yeah.
we're used to seeing John Jones or Daniel Cormier.
Yeah, that light heavyweight division looks like it's ready for new champions.
Yeah, yeah.
It's ready for a new champion already. We just saw a new one. We're ready for a new champion. I think Thiago Santos, he's gonna probably beat Glover Teixeira. He's gonna win the belt. Let's not forget who's waiting for him. The winner of Dominic Reyes and Yuri Prohaska on February 27th. We'll talk about that matchup later. But we're gonna see new champions constantly. It's like that. The division back then when we see the champion constantly getting knocked out. The title would change hands all the time. It's going to be very interesting now that Jones is left. It's going to be the same situation with the lightweight division now that Habib is left.
Mm-hmm. Well, talking about that, well, I have a few little questions before we get into the UFC news. What is next for the lightweight division? Who do you see winning the belt in the next? Say fast forward 2 years or 1 year, who has the belt?
Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor. Oh, okay. It's a very cliche answer. Everyone's on the Conor train, despite his controversies. But I think he's such a great striker. We saw him win rounds against the greatest boxer of all time, Floyd Mayweather. Conor's gonna knock out Dustin Poirier on January 23rd. He's gonna be your new champion, assuming that's gonna be a title fight. But Conor should get it done. But it's very unfortunate because he's going to box Manny Pacquiao, according to him. And we're going to have to see an interim champion or two, just like when Habib was around. But I hope Conor's active. He wanted that season last year. He didn't get it. Maybe he has a season this year.
Yeah, as you said there, that they will fight, hopefully, January 23rd. Nothing official at the moment, but yeah, they will fight, hopefully, at January 23rd, and we will see, possibly, as you said there, maybe a vacant title on the line on that night. You know, it'll be, that will actually probably only be the only way Conor McGregor will actually come down to 155 pounds, again.
Yeah. Unless they do a welterweight fight for the whole 155 title.
Yeah.
Why not? That's how kind of fights work. They're ridiculous.
Conor McGregor gets any way he wants.
Yep.
Yeah, so while we're talking about the lightweight division, there's a name that just recently got signed from Bellator. I think you know who I'm talking about. Michael Chandler. How does he match up in this mix?
I think Michael Chandler can't beat anyone in the top 5. The guy got knocked out by a featherweight in Bellator. It's I don't think he's the cream of the crop, but that's a testament to how great this division is. He's a really good fighter, but in the UFC, the lightweight division is the best they have to offer. I don't think he's going to be even a title challenger, but I think he will be a perennial contender. I think he's going to be in the mix, but he just can't win the big ones, to be honest.
Yep. So we'll move on to the last segment of this podcast, and that will be the UFC Fight Night Hall versus Silva. We'll give our quick predictions. You're nothing too analytic. We'll just quickly say who will win off the top of our head, and why will they win. So first fight of the evening, we've got Miles John versus Kevin Natividad. Who do you think takes that?
All right, I gotta go with Johns by a unanimous decision. Are we doing method of victory?
You can do method, yet.
Yes. All right, I'll do that. So Johns by unanimous decision.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So I say, I talked to Kevin Natividad a few days ago in an interview on MMAUnhinged channel. It should be out a few days, or maybe when this comes out, it should be out. But yeah, I talked to him. He said he's ready to bang. He's got a really good finish rate. You know, he has power. He's got that Hawaiian heart. And he's a finisher. He's fought in LFA. He's a 9-1 as a professional. Johnson's 10-1 as a professional. Just suffered his first loss just recently when he got knocked out. I'm going to go the opposite way with you. I'm going to go with Kevin Natividad. I think Kevin Natividad will take this win, and I think he'll knock him out in the first round. Kevin said he wanted to come out quick, and he's gonna knock him out in the first round.
All right, well, we'll see how that goes. I might have to tell you I told you so next week. We'll see. We'll see.
So, second fight in the evening, Courtney Casey comes back after a loss against Gillian Robertson, and she's taken on Priscilla Cachoeira when she knocks out Shana Dobson in her last fight. How do you see this fight going?
All right, I can't pronounce her name.
Priscilla?
No, yeah, Priscilla.
Yeah.
Priscilla, she's not that great. We saw one of the worst late stoppages of all time between her and Valentina, where Mayu Yamasaki allowed her to be a warrior and may have shortened her career, maybe in her life, with the beating she sustained. But Courtney Casey's been looking good. She's coming off a submission win. I expect her to get another submission here.
Yeah, as I said there, she's coming off a loss, actually. I think it was Gillian Robertson. Yeah, she's coming off a submission loss to Gillian Robertson, but before that, she came off a win against Maria Barella. She submitted her in the first round quite quick. But yeah, she's coming up against Priscilla. You know, not too great. You know, lost. She had came in her UFC career, and she got in her UFC debut. They handed her Valentina Shevchenko.
That's terrible. That's a terrible matchup for anybody, especially in your debut.
On your debut, they give you one of the greatest women fighters that mixed martial arts have ever seen, and an absolute phenomenal fighter in Valentina Shevchenko. I don't know what the matchmakers were thinking when they put this match up on the board.
Much more important what was Mario Yamasaki thinking, but let's refrain from that conversation.
Yeah, lost to Valentina Shevchenko, lost to Molly McCann, then lost to Luana Carolina, and then she knocked out Shana Dobson, who's got a record of 4-4.
Yeah, that's 3-4 before her last fight.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, she got a huge upset win against Maria Agapova, but that's for another podcast when she fights again. So next fight of the evening, I believe we have Dustin Jacoby versus Justin Ledet. Justin Ledet is on a 3-fight losing streak right now. He's lost to Alexandra Rakic, Johnny Walker, and now Alexa Kamur. That one's a bit of a difficult one to pronounce, but yeah, he's on a 3-fight losing streak. Dustin Jacoby returned to MMA last year and went on the Contender Series after that. Won his Contender Series fight in impressive fashion, and got the contract. And now we'll be fighting Justin Ledet. Both of them have Justin in name, or is it Dustin? Oh, Justin. Oh my God.
Dustin versus Justin.
Oh, that's difficult. So Dustin Jacoby will come in against Justin, and he returned to MMA as I said last year. Got his shot on the Contender Series this year against Ty Flores. Looked really good. Looked in impressive fashion. Dana White gave him the contract, and now he's making his UFC sort of second return debut sort of thing against Justin Ledet. How do you see this fight going?
I see Dustin Jacoby having his way with him. Don't forget, he went to Glory Kickboxing, and he was having very competitive fights with the elite guys. He knocked out Carl Robertson, if I'm not mistaken, or he got a unanimous decision there too. If you know who Carl Robertson is,
Yeah, that's correct.
he
Carl
was.
Robertson, a
Yep.
guy that is had a good career in the UFC. You know, he fought Glover Chisera. You know, but unfortunately, didn't go his way that night. But as of late, he lost to Marvin Vettori, and them two had a really bad rivalry. You know, that fight was like a Habib Tony. Is it going to happen? No, it's never going to happen. No, it's
Yep.
actually we got it. Marvin Vettori went in there, choked him out in round 1. But yeah, Carl Robertson is a great kickboxer himself. And you know he beat Carl Robertson, as you said there. Dustin Jacoby finished him with knockdowns. The fight ended in knockdowns. You know, 3 knockdowns. I think you're out.
Yeah, I think Justin Ledet, he's getting released after this one. He can't beat any of the elite guys.
Yeah,
This is another
100%.
one of those guys fighting for his job.
Yeah, I same for you. I say Dustin Jacoby taking it. I think it will be a unanimous decision win. I think he will take it to the judges' scorecard, and we'll see him win.
Oh, I believe Jacoby finishes him in the second round.
Yeah, that's a good prediction. I do see it happening as well. But moving on, Justin Witt versus Cole Williams. I don't know too much about this man, but only all I know is that Justin Witt, he's a wrestler, not very good at stand up, and I don't know too much about Cole Robinson. So in this fight, I'll take Cole Robinson taking it just purely because how bad Jason Witt's debut was. I wasn't impressed with him in that fight. His striking doesn't really look there. His defense doesn't really look there, and I see Cole Robinson, finishing this fight quite early.
Williams is he lives in Alaska, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Fights in Alaska, and as you saw with Jared Cannonier, once he moved out of Alaska, that's where we saw real progress. But this guy's still in Alaska. Is there anything really great coming out of Alaska? Not really. So until he moves out of Alaska, I don't see big things for him. He's in Alaska. He found in Alaskan promotions where they don't have elite talent there. They don't. And I think his record is a little misleading. And Witt had a terrible debut, but before that, uh, both these guys are not elite. But I think this is a coin flip fight. But Witt should get it done. He's the slight favorite here, but we'll see how it plays out. But right now, I'm gonna lean with Witt by a split decision.
Nice decision. But after that, we'll have Sean Strickland versus Jack Marshman. We'll get these predictions speeded up a little bit. We're 1 hour and 15 minutes in. So Sean Strickland or Jack Marshman?
All right. Strickland's coming off a long layoff. I expect him to get done by unanimous decision against Marshman. Marshman, who hasn't beat anyone really great.
100%, I agree. I see Sean Strickland taking this fight and probably end up taking it to the mat. You know, these Welsh guys, Marshman, Phillips, they're not really good at wrestling. Sean Strickland, you know, he's decent at that. He's got a few submissions on his record, and we'll see him take it to the ground. Adrian Yanez versus Victor Rodriguez. Victor Rodriguez stepping in at short notice. Adrian Yanez is probably the most obvious option to choose here. You know, he looked really good in the Contender Series, so I will be taking Adrian Yanez in this fight.
I might have made a mistake. Rodriguez might have been the Alaskan. I can't remember. But Yanez, he looked excellent on the Contender Series. He was able to land like 13 strikes and finish this guy on the Contender Series. He looked sensational, and he has 5-round experience. It was a split decision, I believe, against Johns, who's kicking the night off, and Yanez by first round TKO.
Yeah, in the Contender Series, looked good. Finished him in the first round. That was only just a few months ago, you know, and now he's stepping straight back in against Victor Rodriguez.
That was in August.
In August 11th, he fought against Brandy Huang, and then he won that fight in 39 seconds. Now he's stepping in to fight again against Victor Rodriguez. You know, he's staying active, and that's a really good sign when he comes to this fight. You know, Victor Rodriguez has fought once in 2020 already, but that was back in February. You know, he isn't as active as Yanez, and Yanez looked good in his last fight in the Contender Series, so I do see Yanez taking this fight. So moving on.
All right, moving on.
Moving on to probably the first big kind of fight-ish that we have. And that's Alexandra Hernandez versus Chris Gushimar. Oh my god. Gratschmeyer. We'll go for that. We'll go for Chris. Alexandra Hernandez versus Chris Gratschmeyer. That would be do. Who takes this fight?
All right, I was about to say this is my lock of the night. But there's another matchup on the main card I believe will be competitive. But this right here, this is not going to be an easy fight for Grutzmacher. I believe he's going to get outclassed here. Let's not forget, Alexander Hernandez was once ranked in the top 15 at lightweight. Lightweight is the best division in the UFC. And Hernandez has a knockout win over Benil Dariush, who I believe is number 13 right now. Hernandez he's gonna have his way with him, and I think he might finish him. But right now I'm leaning Hernandez by unanimous decision.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. In his UFC debut, he got given Benel Dariush, stepped in at short notice at UFC 222, and then knocked him out in with 42 seconds, put his name straight on the map, and then returned with a win against Oliver Abun Oliver Abun Messier.
Mercier, yeah.
Oh, these names are getting difficult and difficult.
Yeah, he's French Canadian. You know,
Yeah.
it's understandable.
And then he got his first UFC loss against Donald Cowboy Cerrone when Cowboy went back down to 155 pounds and put on a good stint there. That was his first fight back down to 155 pounds, and he got finished in that fight by Donald Cerrone. We saw some question marks over the conditioning on Hernandez, whether he can go 3 rounds. He kind of fades a lot in the second and third round. We saw it happen in Donald Cerrone fight. We saw it happen in Trinaldo fight, a fight that controversial. That fight, a lot of people thought he lost that fight, and then we saw him get finished against Drew Dober. He fades a lot when he gets to the second round, the third round. He doesn't look as sharp he did as fresh as he did in the first round. So hopefully that doesn't happen against Chris Guttmeyer, a guy that hasn't fought for almost 2 years against his win against Joe Lozon. When he made Joe Lozon quit on the stool in round 2 or 3, round 2 it would have been, yeah. So he hasn't fought in a few years. So that's going to play a factor in this fight. So I see Alex Hernandez going back to the win column, and he'll be taking this win.
Yeah, Hernandez has a 4-inch reach advantage as well, and Joe Lozon win over Joe Lozon is not as big as he used to be. All right, moving on.
Bobby Green versus Thiago Moises. Moises coming off his probably most impressive win in his UFC career, MMA career, against Michael Johnson. If not just a journeyman at best now.
Yeah, that's the story of Michael Johnson's career. He gets you early on, but if you can weather that storm, you'll either submit him or finish him.
100%, and that's what Thiago Moises did. He finished Michael Johnson in round number 2 by an ankle lock. And that was 5 months ago as well. Bobby Green, announced a few days ago after this fight, he's got a fight already scheduled for December.
Really?
Yeah, that came out a few days ago.
Against who?
Isn't announced yet, but he said he will be fighting in December. That's on the box. It's scheduled. After this fight, he's going to make it 5 in 2020.
Wow, Bobby Green is. I love the guy. He's very active. He's willing to fight anybody. And during this pandemic, whoever's willing to step up, like Hamza, he was willing to step up. You get the big opportunities, and 5 fights in 1 year. That's a big deal.
100% in UFC, 5 fights in a calendar year is kind of unheard of. We don't really see it as much as these days, unless you're starting your career. When you're starting your career, you get a lot of fights in, you get as much as experience as you can. But when you move on at the more later stages of your career, 5 fights in 1 year, that's incredible to think of. He's been very active, and he's 3-0 in 2020. He's beat Clay Guida. Then he came against Lando Venata when they ran it back. That was a good win from him. And most recently, it was only 1 month and 2 weeks ago, he beat Alan Patrick in unanimous decision, and he's looked impressive in all them fights. I believe he's 30-27 every single one of them.
Yeah. Dominant performances, and I think this might be another one. On the feet, it's not that competitive. I think Bobby Green, he lands 5 significant strikes per minute in comparison to Thiago Moises is 2.6. So I think the output will be the deciding factor in this contest. But let's not forget Thiago Moises. He's filthy on the ground. On the ground, he'll catch you with a heel hook. He'll catch you with a rear naked choke. Doesn't matter. And let's not forget in the Apex, these matches have with the small cage. These fights have favored the grappler. The grappler can get that single leg easier. They can get that submission really quickly. But right now, I'll favor Bobby Green by unanimous decision.
Yeah, nice. I like it. I like it. Let's speed this up. We're going on forever. I don't want to hold you for too long. It's getting quite late for me also. 8:30 at night. You know, it's Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy versus Maurice Green. How do you see his fight going?
Maurice Green, he's not elite, as I love to say that. Just these guys that are not elite, I don't like to bet on them. Uh, Greg Hardy is not elite either, but the size difference here is pretty big. Even though Green is taller, I think Greg Hardy is gonna he's gonna hit him with big shots, and Green just won't have an answer for it. Green almost lost the fight too. Who was it? His
Jim
last fight
Vellante?
where yeah, Jean Vellante.
Yeah.
Jean Vellante is a light heavyweight who's been knocked out several times. He went into heavyweight out of shape. The guy, let's just say, he was fat. He came up, he was fat, and he almost knocked out Maurice Green until he gassed out. Green has the advantage on the ground, but if he can't get that done, uh, we're gonna see Greg Hardy win by decision.
Yeah, I agree there. And the thing is about Green, his chin not really there for a big guy. You know, once he
Yeah,
gets hit, he kind of accepts that. You know, he kind of crumbles up a bit. He's been knocked out a few times in his UFC career, and also in Glory, he's been knocked out quite a bit. So I do say the same as you. I think Greg Hardy will take this fight, and it's a good fight for Greg Hardy coming off that loss against Volkov, and then he came back to Jorgen De Castro, beat him. But you know, if Green has any game plan, I would look at that Volkov Hardy fight and do the exact same game plan as Volkov have. You know, stick to his 1-2 basics, stick to the range, because that's a good blueprint for Green to, you know, it kind of, there's quite a similar matchup between these two. So if Green's gonna look at anything, look at the matchup between Hardy and Volkov.
yeah, I would advise that for him. Moving on, Kevin Holland, he's fighting. All right, I don't know the new guy's name. I don't know how to pronounce it well.
Charlie Interiros.
On
Oh god.
Ontiveros.
Ontiveros, yeah, that would do.
Yeah,
This is straightforward. Kevin Holland, right?
of course.
Yeah.
All right. Every week I'm gonna have this thing called the Oscars Lock of the Night,
Okay.
and this right here is my lock of the night. Uh, the guy he's fighting, Ontiveros, has been knocked out in Bellator by Michael Page. Uh, when I had to post the fight announcement, I had to go back to the Bellator weigh-ins back in 2015, where he got knocked. That was back in 2015. So Kevin Holland, he's a big guy. He didn't even get knocked out by Thiago Santos when he fought him. So I expect Kevin Holland to knock him out very early on. It's going to be similar to that fight he had when he fought Anthony Hernandez and finished him in a minute. This is going to be easy work for Kevin Holland.
Yeah, that's
First
a good way
round
of putting it.
KO.
And back in 2015, he lost to Michael Page, got knocked out. And back in 2014, late 2014, got knocked out by Jeff Neal, a young Jeff Neal.
Yeah, he's been finished before, and we've seen Kevin Holland. He has the power to end guys like Joaquin Buckley.
Yeah, exactly. Great example. Kevin Holland finished Joaquin Buckley with a great right cross, straight on the chin, finishes him, knocks him out cold. I think we'll see that again. Kevin Holland will be knocking out Charlie this fight. Moving on to the probably the best the fight. That's what kind of excites me a lot. When I get to this fight, I'll be so excited. Bryce Mitchell was back and he's got his camo shorts. How's this go?
I remember when this fight was announced. I knew it was going to be fun then. I know it's going to be fun now. This fight is going to be so much fun, just like Bryce Mitchell's last fight was. He put on a grappling clinic against Rosa, and he'll do it again here, but I don't think it's going to be as long. I'm picking a first round submission for Bryce Mitchell, possibly a twister. Let's not forget, Rosa is a black belt. He almost got a twister on Rosa.
Twice,
We
three
can
times.
tell,
Yeah.
yes, we can tell that this guy has been practicing the twister because people want to learn it from him. He's been practicing it. I would have ruled that out here, but I think that in the Apex, it's not been unusual to see these quick first round submissions, and that's what I expect to see here from Bryce Mitchell.
Yep, 100%. But Andre Philly training at Team Alpha Male. You know, that gym over there, you know, they're primarily known for their wrestlers. You got Uriah Hall, you used to have TJ Dillashaw, Cody Garbrandt. They all came through the college and high school as wrestlers. They're really good wrestlers over there. And in this fight, Andre Philly's going to need it. And I do see Bryce Mitchell taking it to the ground and looking for a finish.
Yeah, don't forget Philly even won the first round against Max Holloway. Ever heard of him?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, he did won the first round against Max Holloway back in 2015 or 2014.
Yep. Holloway got that third round guillotine.
Yep, that's correct. I'll tell you now when it was. It was back in 2014. 2014 when he lost against Max Holloway, and that was a story to everyone else. You know, after that he's gone 1-1-1-1. He's not really picked up a consecutive wins. But you know, he needs to get. He's got a difficult matchup in front of him now. He's got Bryce Mitchell, a guy that's a highly looked up. But it has his ground game. His ground game looks unbelievable, and he has his camera shorts. That's going to motivate him even more.
Something to keep in mind here. If this stays on the feet, Philly has a 4-inch reach advantage, so he's going to find success if this stays on the feet. But otherwise, Bryce Mitchell is gonna get that submission.
Yep, I like it. I like it. So Bryce Mitchell by decision. Moving on to Anderson Silva versus Uriah Hall. Anderson Silva's last fight in his UFC career, or is it? He said in an interview with El Rouhani, I think it was, he said he wished to carry on, but he says before this fight that he wants to retire. See, this is what makes me worry about Anderson Silva. Is his head in the game? Like, he's worrying about retiring. Is he there? Does he retire? Does he not retire? He might be thinking too much about that and not concentrating on the fight against Uriah Hall. But, you know, Uriah Hall, he's weak mentally. When he comes into a fight, he doesn't really get himself going, puts too much pressure on himself. When he fights against the big guys like Brunson's, the Whittakers, he kind of crumbles under pressure. We saw him against Gegard Mousasi. You know, he kind of crumbles, puts too much pressure on himself, and we see him come in a lot of his fight weak mentally. And but even though I just said that, I think Uriah Hall will come in motivated for this fight. You know, this is against Anderson Silva, and his last fight in his UFC career. That's an absolute honour for Uriah Hall, and I do see him taking the win.
Yeah, I agree with you. Anderson Silva, if he was in his prime, we'd be having a completely different conversation. But unless Anderson decides to be uncharacteristic and take down Uriah Hall, who's I don't know if he's even a blue belt, if he gets taken down and mounted by Anderson Silva, I think Anderson Silva could easily get a triangle choke. But Anderson Silva loves to entertain the fans. In an interview, he says he doesn't think about winning. He doesn't think about losing. He thinks about showing something special to his fans. And unfortunately, we're not going to see something special. Can't pick a fighter that's 45 years old. He's not exactly a Randy Couture who went out to fight until he was 46. I think it's over for Anderson, but he's going to disagree, and he's going to fight on maybe in Bellator. It's very unfortunate that he still wants to continue at 45. But Uriah Hall, I think those leg kicks will be the determining factor in this fight, and he's going to win by a 4th round TKO. Because don't forget, Anderson Silva, when he fought Jared Cannonier, he crumbled under the pressure from the leg kicks. And it's going to happen again here, in my opinion.
Yep, that's a good way of putting it. Well, that rounds up our predictions. And thank you for joining me, MMA Heads, a.k.a. Oscar. And give yourself a little promo again and tell everyone who you are and what you do.
All right, you can find me on Instagram at MMA Heads. I post fight announcements every day, or interviews. I'll find the quotes from there, and I'll post them. I'm actually more active on my story. You should check out the story. I'm very active there. And what do you have to promote?
No.
All right. I believe that this weekend will be a fun card. It's on Halloween. Over here in America, Halloween is a big deal, but not as big of a deal this year because of the pandemic, obviously. But I'll be staying home. I'll be watching the fights. How about you?
That'll be me as well. I'll be staying at home watching the fights. No one in England can go out, unfortunately, and that sets up a beautiful night for me because I get to stay home and watch some fights.
All right. Are you gonna have a little candy to go with it?
Maybe. I'm not a big sweet man. I don't really eat sweets.
I got a sweet tooth. Uh, what's your favorite chocolate bar?
um, a Snickers. I do like a Snickers.
Well, I've always been a fan of Hershey's over here, and
I don't know what that is.
all right, it's a milk chocolate bar. It's very popular over here in
Yeah.
America.
I
All
need to
right.
come over in America and get some.
Have you ever been?
I've been like I was in my mum's room when she was in America, so if that counts.
Oh, all right. I've never been in the UK. I'd like to go someday.
I wouldn't. It's cold.
Oh, all right. All right. So, have a great weekend. These spots are going to be so much fun. Maybe we'll create an Instagram account for this podcast to promote this podcast.
We could. Or we can just use our community, both of our communities. You post it on yours, I'll post it on mine.
All right. And to the listeners, keep in mind this is our first podcast. We're only going to get better from here. I'm out here stuttering, mumbling. It's only going to get better. This is the first episode, and it's going to get better. So there's going to be a lot of evolution from this show. Wherever you're listening to it, thank you for listening, and that'll be it for me.
That's a perfect way to end it. Thank you all for watching. As MMA Heads just said there, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week. Thank you. Enjoy the
All right,
fights.
have a good one.
Enjoy the fights.
You too.